A very warm welcome to all of you to the 30th webinar of Scope on ethical leadership for organization integrity, the Gandhian way. Today is an important day as we commemorate the 75th Martyrs' Day of our father of the nation, who has been an inspiration for all generations alike. Hence, today, we take a step back in our mechanical lives to pay our tribute to none other than the Mahatma Gandhi. Scope has dedicated a forum to his teachings and has been organizing programs on relevance of Gandhian values in the corporate world. While Scope has been conducting webinars and interactive sessions on an array of subjects for capacity enhancement of the corporate sector, high relevance has been given by the apex body to the teachings of the Mahatma through such sessions. Today's webinar has also been organized to understand the enhanced relevance of Gandhian values in the present times of uncertainties, challenges, and growing complexities, while ensuring ethical values irrespective of complex situations. For this, we have an eminent panel with us who will guide us on how leadership can be ethical in the Gandhian way. Please join me in welcoming Shri Rohit Kumar Singh Ji, Secretary, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, Government of India. We are privileged to have you, sir. Welcome on the session. We also welcome Dr. R.A. Mashelkar Ji, former Director General, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research and Chairman, National Innovation Foundation. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your time. We also welcome Dr. Shobna Radhakrishna, who is an eminent Gandhian and has been propagating Gandhian teachings for many years. Very warm welcome to you, ma'am. We also warmly welcome DG Scope, Shri Atul Sopti Ji, who has been a guiding force for us towards transforming Scope and conducted such important and inspiring webinars, symposium, and programs. We are also happy to share that today we not only have participants joining us from the Zoom platform, but also live platform of Scope, that is YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter handles of Scope. Before we move further, let us listen to Mahatma Gandhi's favorite bhajan, Vaishnav Janto, written by Narsin Mehta, a poet-philosopher who hailed from Gujarat and lived 400 years before Mahatma Gandhi was born. Today, the bhajan has been sung by present-day singers of the Gandharv Mahavidyalaya, Miss Swati and Mr. Deepak. May I request the team to put on the bhajan, please? DG Scope, to kindly address the webinar with his thoughts on the occasion. Sir is a visionary leader having a versatile professional experience of nearly 4 decades. Before leading Scope as Director General, Sir was CMD BHEL, a Maharatna public sector enterprise. Over to you, sir, for your address.
Thank you. Thank you, Smriti. A very good morning, everyone. 30th January, a day when not only India, but the whole world lost a great leader, encompassing almost all humanly possible qualities, the Mahatma Gandhi. While all generations, past or present, they remember this day, 30th January, as Martyrs' Day, we at Scope earmark this day by visiting, revisiting teachings and principles of Mahatma so that the same is reverberated in the times to come. It's our tribute from Scope to the Father of Nation. With its objective of enhancing excellence in the public sectors by creation of a conducive and cohesive environment, Scope firmly believes that the Mahatma played a multifarious role of a thinker, philosopher, and leader. All of us are aware that he is known as the chief architect of the freedom struggle, but we believe that he was also a master strategist, ideal leader, and a marketing guru whose ideas and practices are still applicable for the new corporate world, rather even more in the present than before. In fact, this thought has laid the genesis for Scope Gandhian Forum for ethical governance so as to explore Gandhian principle and create awareness among all the members so as to equip them with the knowledge and tools to maintain highest benchmark of corporate governance and nurturing social and equitable development of the country while aligning to the global economic order. In this process, in fact, we have organized many webinars and seminars, and it's the 13th program which we are organizing on the Martyr Day. 13 years we have been organizing these programs, and we have been making the conscious efforts to further the essential elements of Gandhian leadership so as to pave the way for PSCs to develop and maintain themselves as ethical organizations. While Gandhian values of truthfulness, transparency, and respecting others have always been upheld, they particularly find special significance in the present times of greater complexities due to dynamism, increased competition, access to greater information, ease of access across boundaries. This present race leads to perplexing situations. We leaders are faced with ironical circumstances to find the easy way out and thereby leading to compromise on principles of corporate governance sometime to match the commercial expectations of the stakeholders. In fact, in such situation, one is reminded of ethical style of leadership and great management thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi ji, who has stood strong against all odds to bring about betterment for the country as a whole in the most equitable manner. He illustrated his leadership and managerial capabilities while abiding by highest ethical standards, even in the most hard and annoying situations, a quality that is most desired of transformational leader in the present times also, so as to optimize the potential of a company, thereby ensuring the organization growth and expansion even in adverse situations without compromising on the ethical benchmarks. Gandhiji proved that if you remain ethical it is bound to generate trust of people in you, which is the most important factor for success of any movement. This has direct application in the present business world, also because only if the leadership is transparent and is perceived to be ethical and truthful, not only will there be internal strength in the organization, but will also lead to positive perception, thereby creating a positive brand of the organization. This would help in commercial growth of the organization. With this firm belief to inspire our leaders by journey of Mahatma Gandhi to imbibe values and virtues in themselves, SCOPE has organized its 30th webinar dedicated to the teachings of Father of the Nation with a reflection on ethical leadership. To enlighten us with the values of Mahatma Gandhi, we have an eminent panel of guests amongst us. We are pleased to have amongst us Shri Rohit Kumar Singh, Secretary Consumer Affairs, Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, who has been entrusted with an important task of strengthening consumer movement in the country by creating awareness and synergizing consumer organization. We welcome you, Shri Rohit Kumar Singh ji. We are also honored to have with us Shri R.A. Mashelkar ji. Shri Mashelkar needs no introduction, given his illustrious career and immense contribution in the field of academics and research, especially his efforts to strengthen the IPR ecosystem. Today we shall hear him speak on Gandhian engineering. Sir, we look forward to it. We also have Srimati Shobna Radhakrishnan ji, who has been associated with SCOPE since last 12 years. And in fact, she is the basically motivating force behind organizing all these programs of SCOPE. And she has imbibed the Gandhian way of life in her persona, and what better person than her to reverberate philosophy of Gandhi's life. Welcome to you, Dr. Radhakrishnan. I am certain that with such eminent persons, participants will certainly gain greater insights. With this, I once again welcome all the guests, speakers, and participants to this very webinar, and hope each one of you and each one of us is able to learn something today. Best wishes for the webinar. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thank you, sir. Now I have the pleasure of inviting our chief guest, Shri Rohit Kumar Singh ji, for his address. Sir is an IAS officer of the 1989 batch, Rajasthan cadre, besides being an engineer from reputed Educational Institute of India and Masters in Public Administration from Harvard University, USA. Sir has worked extensively at various positions in the state and central governments and provided leadership at middle and senior level managements. His commitment and sincerity has resulted in many laurels and accolades to his name. We are honored to be joined by you, sir, and over to you for your address, please. Sir, we request you to unmute yourself, please.
Namaskar, Mr. Sopti, Dr. Mashelkar, Dr. Shobana Radhakrishnan, Samriddhi Jain ji, others present on the webinar. First of all, I want to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to be here on this somber occasion and share my thoughts with all present. I will come straight away to the subject, and I think, in my personal humble opinion, the ethical leadership which will lead to the integrity of organization is fundamentally premised on one principle, which is very simple, which is appropriate and thoughtful conduct, both inside and outside the office. Sometimes we have two faces, one within the office and one outside the office, one with our superiors, one with our peers, and the third with our juniors. I think the fundamental premise here is our face, our conduct, our behavior has to be one with all, and it has to be appropriate and thoughtful. It has to be motivated by dignity and rights of others. When we say dignity and rights of others, I'm cutting across the hierarchy. And it is not just tolerating others, it is respecting others. And I think that is where the fundamental difference is. And as Mr. Sopti said in his inaugural earlier remarks, these times are difficult. The times are, we are witnessing conflicts, whether it is in the geopolitical context or the domestic context, everywhere. So the Gandhian way of leadership is even more appropriate and even more needs to be robustly followed now. And as I said earlier, we have to have a single standard of conduct, which is based on truthfulness. And truthfulness is the fundamental thing. I can relate it to my current work context. When we talk about respecting the rights of consumers, we want the sellers or the traders or the manufacturers to be truthful about their product in terms of what they're selling and by appropriately labeling them. Even in terms of advertisements, there is a big sector on how not to mislead the consumers by misleading advertisements, by surrogate advertisements, by telling something about a product which is not there. So I think the truthfulness which should prevail every aspect of the life is very, very important in terms of leadership and the organization, and that has to be very respectfully followed. Now, the other aspect is consistency. So we have to be consistent in our actions, in our values, in our methods, in our measures, in our principles, in our expectations, and our outcomes. Now, unless we are consistent, if at a particular time of the day with a particular set of people, we are behaving differently, and with other set of people, we are behaving differently, and we are lacking consistency, it gives a very bad message to the organization which we are leading. I think people look for consistency, and anybody who's held in high esteem and respect is always seen as consistent in his thoughts, in his actions, in his methods, principles, and expectations. So I think this is the other fundamental premise, that is consistency. Now, as I said, in this world full of conflicts, conflict resolution has emerged as a big thing. And whether it's between countries, whether it's between organizations, whether it's between individuals, where it is a consumer versus a seller, conflicts are everywhere. And the way conflicts are to be resolved have taken a very important position in the current scheme of things. And I think through mediation, sitting across table, talking to each other, instead of just going ahead and fighting it out in a court or in any other forum and leading to violence, we should probably avoid that. And the fundamental principle of sitting across table and mediation has to be the basic premise of conflict resolution. This is all derived from the Gandhian principles of conflict resolution. And even in this department, we are telling consumers that before you go to a court for some resolution, please look for mediation, please look for sitting across table, and we will become an intermediary in facilitating this mediation for this conflict, and please get it resolved. I remember I'm from the Rajasthan cadre, and one of my honorable chief ministers who I worked with very closely always used to say, when you are given a position, whether it's in bureaucracy, whether it is in industry, whether it is in private sector, whether it is in politics, the position involves a lot of trust, and you are trustee of that particular thing, and you should never do anything that belies the trust. I think the fundamental principle that should drive the leadership in any of these sectors I mentioned is, if we think as a trustee and we deliberately do everything not to belie the trust of the people, the organization, where we have been put, where we have been placed to work, I think that will always guide us, that will always stand us in good stead throughout our work at any level of leadership. Uh, in terms of other principles, the honesty, frankness, fight for the underdog, always trying to build, always trying to help, always trying to uh, do more for the institution rather than the individual, because people are temporary, individuals are temporary, institutions are permanent. So if we build good systems, if we build good ethics in the organization as an institution, I think we'll make a more lasting contribution as a leader. Um Gandhiji always used to talk about Swadeshi, and what we see uh, it being manifested now is in terms of what Honorable Prime Minister also talks about, Atmanirbhar Bharat, whether it is Startup India, whether it is Stand Up India, whether it is Made in India, Make in India. I think all these paradigms are driven by the concept of Swadeshi that Gandhiji so persistently vouched for. And I think the way the world is moving, despite globalization and global trade practice, the movement for Swadeshi, the movement for Atmanirbhar Bharat, which finds its roots in the principles of Mahatma Gandhi, is so very important these days that we have to consistently and persistently follow that. The other paradigm on which India has done well in recent past is the principle of Swachhata. And I think with the Swachh Bharat mission, both in rural and urban areas, we have made considerable progress, but there's still a long way to go. But if we, as leaders of organizations, we are all working in small domains, but if we try to imbibe and infuse the principles of Swadeshi, of Swachhata in our respective organizations, then it will be a great service to the principles espoused by Mahatma Gandhi for leadership. So with these words, I want to conclude that if we focus on truthfulness, respect for others, and consistency in our conduct and behavior, both inside and outside office, we'll be doing a great service in following Mahatma Gandhi's principles on leadership. Thank you very much again for inviting me here. Namaste.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for enlightening us and clearly pointing out the three pillars that corporate leaders today can follow to lead the path. Thank you very much, sir, once again. It is an indeed honor for Scope to have Dr. R.A. Mashilkarji on this occasion. Sir has been an influential leader in shaping science, technology, and innovation policies in post-liberalized India, and his connections with the international academic education and research community are deep and wide. Recipient of Padma Vibhushan in 2014, Dr. Mashelkarji is known as pioneer of different movements, prime being evolving global systems for traditional knowledge protection to help create stronger yet balanced IPR systems. Having headed important institutes including CSIR, National Innovation Foundation, Global Research Alliance, and International Science Academy, Sir has pioneered an innovation movement based on the concept of Gandhian engineering, which he will be presenting today. Without any further delay, may I invite Dr. Mashelkarji for his presentation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. May I share the screen, please?
Yeah. Yes, sir. You have the rights to.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can you see the first slide?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can. Please go ahead.
Okay. Yes, thank you very much. First of all, for inviting me to join you today on this great day. I was inspired to hear the words of Sri Rohit Kumar Singh ji as well as Atul Sopti ji. What I'm going to do is talk about Gandhiji as I saw him. The title of the book that I edited, Timeless Inspirator, Reliving Gandhi, I've been member of the National Gandhi Memorial Society. And at its 30th birthday, we brought this book out. And the question that I asked 50 top leaders from around the country was the relevance of Mahatma Gandhi in today's world. And we had people from all across, industrialists like Rahul Bajaj to Narayan Murthy, Gandhians like Ilaben Bhatt to Mohan Dharia. We had scientists, sports, arts, culture, Amjad Ali Khans of this world, and Mallika Sarabhai. We had M.S. Swaminathan, and so on. You know, there was a complete unanimity that Mahatma Gandhi is more relevant today in the 21st century than he was in the 20th century. Let me, oh, why the slides are not moving? There is some challenge with regard to moving the slides. Yeah. So I talked about Gandhian engineering for the first time in Australia when I was elected as a fellow of Australian Academy of Science. And I proposed that Gandhian engineering stands for getting more from less for more people. And I'll explain to you why. Slides are not moving. Can we? Yeah. You can move the slides and I will sort of. Now, if we look at the Gandhian innovation, I think the music of the spinning wheel, for example, the charka symbolized innovation. It had the economic, social, and spiritual overtones, of course. The next slide. Actually, shows the inspiration for Gandhian engineering, because Mahatma Gandhi had said, Earth provides enough to satisfy every man's need, but not every man's greed. What it meant was that we must use our exhaustible resources more carefully and try to get more from less from them. But at the same time, Mahatma Gandhi had said that I would prize every invention of science made for the benefit for all, which means doing it for more and more people. So that became more from less for more. Next slide, please. Now, if you see Gandhian engineering, next slide, keep on going. It is getting more performance from less resource for more people. So this becomes a kind of a MLM syndrome. Next slide. And in that context, if you see getting more from less for more, Gandhiji himself had championed the concept of more from less for more. He created this grand concept about creating a machine that could produce yarn from raw cotton at the same speed as the European spinning mills did. In fact, in 1929, Mahatma Gandhi had announced a machine contest with a prize money of 1 lakh rupees at that time. It is 4 crores today. It was a significant prize. And the requirement was that it must meet affordable excellence. Cost of less than 150 rupees, product lifetime 20 years, performance make 12 to 20 threads of 16,000 foot yarn. And unfortunately, no machine satisfied all the criteria, but it shows Gandhiji's way of thinking about technology. The goal of Gandhian engineering is, of course, Sarvodaya, welfare for all. And basic idea is to get despite income inequality, how do we ensure access equality? This appears as a paradox, but this is what is happening. Next slide. You can see here two ladies. Complete the slide, please. Go ahead. These two slides, their income equality may be 1,000:1, but access equality is 1:1. And you can see this particular phenomenon. This is the fundamental principle about getting more from less for more people. Next slide. So this MLM mantra is spreading around the world now. I'm very proud to say that. Next slide. I remember writing a paper with C.K. Prahlad. Um, this appeared in Harvard Business Review, and this now finds place in the top 10 must-read papers in innovation. Next slide. In fact, the World Economic Forum, please go ahead, complete the slide. The World Economic Forum had a special session on getting more from less for more on 16 November 2010, just a few months after this particular paper was published. And then later on, my TED lecture, Breakthrough Designs for Ultra Low Cost Products, which actually propagated the values of Gandhian engineering, has been now subtitled in 23 languages and went across the world. Next slide. Next slide. I actually started propagating this, and you keep on pushing the buttons, by the way, keep on pushing the slides. Started in Canberra, Melbourne, this Gandhian engineering. Later, Bangkok, Kuala Lumpur, Manila, Dhaka. I remember talking in Asian Development Bank, and they, under the title of Inclusive Innovation, started a program. I remember speaking in Washington in World Bank, and they started an inclusive innovation program. In fact, in Vietnam, which was $55 million. I remember speaking in Brussels, Cambridge, London, Munich, Paris, and in, no, don't change until I say. In Brussels, for example, I spoke in the European Union, and they incorporated that part in their Horizon 2020 program. Remember speaking in Medellin, in Colombia, in their World Association of Industrial Technology Research Organization, including in Beijing and all these countries. So basically, the idea was to spread this particular message of Gandhian engineering, inclusive innovation, despite income inequality, how can we create access equality? Next slide, please. Now, you would say you have been doing it all around the world. What are you doing in India? Well, my own CSR, Council of Scientific Industry Research, has been an epitome of Gandhian engineering, because when we talk about affordable excellence, for example, the work that they did in COVID, making affordable drugs available to the common man, or for example, most affordable diagnostics available, was absolutely incredible. But on my personal front, I created this Anjani Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award, which was powered by Gandhian engineering. The award was given not just to best practice, but to the next practice. And the idea was making high technology work for the poor. Next slide. If you see, for example, the health for all despite income inequality, can you have an ECG test done for ₹5? Looks impossible. Can we have a hemoglobin test done for ₹10? Looks impossible. Can we have breast cancer screening done for $1? Looks impossible, but it has all been done. Next slide. You just see these ₹10 for hemoglobin test, 5 for ECG test, $1 breast cancer, and all these are heroes of our time, all young people. Let me tell you what they did. Next slide. For example, the startling fact is India's ranking in breast cancer deaths globally is #1. Less than 1% are screened early and 50% survival rate. Next slide. And you can see, and complete the slide, please. Go ahead. Yeah. And you can see this is Mihir Shah, young Mihir Shah. And he created this eye breast exam low-cost tactile sensor that measures tissue stiffness difference in real time, non-invasively and without plane. And it's ultra portable, accurate, minimal training, wireless, cloud connected, and instant results. It looks like a toy. But you would say, well, does it remain as a toy in the laboratory? No, sorry. Next line. It shows that it's going around the world. UE Life Sciences and GE Healthcare, they announced a pivotal global partnership, taking it to something like 25 countries with an ambitious target of over 500 million women. So this Gandhian engineering, what I want to say is that because it is affordable excellence, because it is excellence, the world accepts it, and because it is affordable, it makes a huge difference to the large population. Look at this rupees 5 per test ECG device. Complete the slide, please. On the right, yeah. Now you can see this personal 12-lead ECG event monitor. It's portable, it's credit card size, just costs 10 cents per ECG, and capable of taking the single lead, 6-lead as well as 12-lead medical grade ECG. Now 2 lakh of these have been sold in 8 countries at the moment. Now you can just imagine, when we talk about health for all, in a rural village, if a woman has a pain at midnight, you don't have to put her in a jeep or a motorcycle or a bullock cart and go several kilometers. But this can be done very, very simply. Next slide. Because this is the best practice. You lie down, as a matter of fact, and there is a 12 lead, but you can quite clearly see here the process. As a matter of fact, you hold it in your hand, put your 2 thumbs here for 15 seconds, and there is a sensor which you put around your heart, below and above the heart, and within few seconds, the best, this gets transmitted by email or WhatsApp to the best surgeon. As I said, 2 lakh of these are there now in 8 countries. Next slide. Look at, complete the slide, please. Now, here you can see this hemoglobin test. The best practice is, of course, invasive with needles. This next practice is non-invasive, no needles. Cost per test is 150 rupees. This is just 10 rupees. Next slide. And you can see this was the high technology that was used actually with photoplethysmography, spectrophotometry. And the basic idea is making high technology work for the poor. Remember, making high technology work for the rich is very easy. Making low technology work for the poor is very easy, but making high technology work for the poor is very difficult. And that's what Gandhian engineering does, getting more from less for more and more people. Next slide. We had this unfortunate pandemic and ICU bed shortage. We heard COVID wave 1 to COVID wave 2. And you heard here that in Los Angeles, ambulances circle for hours, ICUs are full, and patients are lying in the doorways and so on and so forth. And Delhi hospitals also ran out of it, and poor were the worst hit. Next slide. And then came this DOSI, because there was a special award that I created during the COVID time. And this award for 2020 went to DOSI, who actually developed this particular device, which you can put under the mattress. It's a continuous contact-free vitals monitor with remote monitoring, 10 times cheaper than the products used in ICU. No maintenance, consumables, etc. And the results with 98.4% medical accuracy actually can be monitored, 7 critical parameters. Next slide, please. And you can see the impact of it going across the country during the second wave of COVID. Next slide. And it made a big difference. And here again, making high technology work for the poor, pregnant women in remote villages. So this young man Senthil created this IoT-based maternal healthcare solution, 1,000 days care to mother and child for rupees 1,000. And he's covering large number of villages now. It is benefiting pregnant women, improving their health, the delivery, healthy babies. In fact, there was a village where the healthiest and the highest weight newborn baby, that celebration was done, and Senthil was invited to sort of share there. You can just see what difference it can make to our poor villages. Next slide. The Gandhian challenge is sanitation is more important than political freedom, is what he had said in 1947. And Supreme Court had come down very heavily, saying that sewers are gas chambers where manual scavengers are sent to die. Next slide. Yes, and you can see these were the manholes, the grim reality. 4.5 million are engaging in manual scavenging. So many people die. Approximately 98% are diagnosed with fatal diseases, and this is the state based on the official data. Next slide. And then some young people said the man in the hole idea is very bad. And as a matter of fact, it should be robot in the hole, machine in the hole. And why can't we do the cleaning with a robot? Next slide. And you can see the access to dignity. Here are these young people who developed it. And you can see what they did. What was very important was they gave access to dignity, because previously, if this uh, sort of manual scavenger, the children in the school, somebody would have asked, what does your father do? They would have put their head down and said, he is a manual scavenger. But today they can put their head up and say he's a robot operator. The very fact that the job is not displaced, he doesn't lose the job, because the machine is doing the job, but he starts operating that particular machine, his access to dignity, which was something that was implicit to Gandhiji. Next slide. And I'm very happy to say this won this Anjali Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award. You can see here Dr. Vijay Kelkar, the former chairman of the Finance Commission, and Professor Anil Gandhi. I call him a modern Gandhi, grassroots innovator movement, the way he had moved around. And these are the three young people, college-going kids, by the way, actually doing it. Next slide. And I'm very happy to see that this prohibition of employment as manual scavengers bill actually was brought in so that there will be a law banning manual scavenging to be more stringent. And I'm very proud to say some of the discussion, as a matter of fact, was initiated because of this particular breakthrough that we are talking about. Next slide. Indian academics also doing Gandhian engineering. You remember what Gandhiji had said, that production, trade, and consumption should be localized. And here is Kannan of IIT Madras creating a technology to follow Gandhian principle, not mass production, but production by masses, decentralized spinning, doing away with huge city-based textile mills. And he created this revolutionary malka, malmal and khadi, their properties being combined together, and unbelievable fabric. Next slide. And you can see, next slide. Yeah. And you can see here the end-to-end integration of the cotton value chain. So he created this microspin technology that avoids baling and enables small machines to handle it through aerodynamic and buoyancy. No energy and water intensive humidification is required. And I'm very proud to say this fabric is exported to Europe with large premium due to exquisite texture, consumes 5 times less energy, and increases employment 5-fold with 2-fold increase in artisan salaries. The point I'm trying to make that Gandhiji's first principles on production, trade, and consumption, and then not only our Honorable Prime Minister's not make in India, but for the world, you can see that happening there. So many objectives are reached at the same time. Next slide. I would say that if you look at 18 decentralized development goals that Gandhiji had, and you can quite clearly see the sustainable development goals, they all actually match. In fact, Mahatma Gandhi had said, imagine all the 40 crore of people busying themselves with the whole of the construction program, which is designed to build up the nation from the very bottom up, upward. And those principles are so valid in meeting our sustainable development goals. Next slide. And you can see this Gandhian young engineering technological innovation movement has actually started. Our former president, our former science and technology minister, we have started these Gyati awards to inculcate the sense of Gandhian engineering, do more from less for more, creating an inclusive India, inclusive world. Next slide. And I see here, this was the last day on outgoing president releasing a book on that day. You can see our current Honorable Prime Minister, our past President, Honorable Vice President, then Professor Anil Gupta and myself. And this book is all about inclusive innovation. This book is all about principles of Gandhian engineering, which were promoted through Rashtrapati Bhavan. And it is interesting that our former president chose this to be his last sort of event of his presidential career. Which how heartwarming is this particular message is to our nation. Next slide. I would like to end this talk by showing a small film. Yeah, you can see that here is a young man who is having this $12,000 food. How many of us can afford this food, and particularly the poor? Next slide. But then came this Time headline on a $28 food. You can see this is the Jaipur food, and the headline was "The global scourge of landmines left thousands limbless, and then two gifted Indians developed this $28 food." Next slide. Let us see what it is all about. Here is this particular food, and watch it carefully. See, he is able to climb so smoothly, and you can see the flexural strength, the way it bends like a natural foot, right? And then he jumps. You can see when he jumps, what is the strength of that foot, basically. And then he's asked that any person with the below the knee limb, above the knee limb, yes, did it hurt? No, not at all. And then it is almost like getting back to sort of his natural life. And now you can just see what he does. He runs. He runs like all of us. And he can run a kilometer in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. Can you just imagine this? Now, normally, if I was giving this lecture in a hall of 500, I ask a question: how many of you can run a kilometer in 4 minutes, 30 seconds? You'll be surprised. Out of 500, 5 or 10 hands go up. What it means is that if he was given a wooden foot, if he was given no foot at all, he would have crawled that kilometer. If he was given a wooden foot, he would have taken an hour to go there. But he has been given this foot, and he's able to now actually do it in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. And not only that, he's able to beat 98% of the people sitting in the auditorium. This is the meaning of affordable excellence. What he has been given is affordable, but the excellence and the dignity that he has is absolutely incredible. To me, this is the essence of Gandhian engineering: getting more from less for more, creating access equality despite inequality, and to seeing smile on the face of not just few privileged people, but on the face of all 1.4 billion people of India. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. It's indeed been very enlightening to hear from you the true values of Gandhiji, how they can be imbibed today. So less for more for inclusive growth. Now with this, may I invite Dr. Shobhana Radhakrishna to enlighten us on how modern lay leaders can be inspired by Gandhiji to adapt ethical leadership so as to pave way for highest integrity in organizations. Ma'am is a globally renowned Gandhian recognized for an invaluable contribution to literature, social service, and spreading the vision of Mahatma Gandhi. She's on a mission to reintroduce Mahatma Gandhi to the people of India and abroad. And today alone, she has been invited by Indian missions to echo the thoughts of Gandhiji in over 65 countries. With this, I invite you, ma'am, to also enlighten us. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Samriddhi. Namaskar, Dr. Mashelkar ji, Dr. Rohit Kumar Singh ji, and Supti ji for inviting me for this our joint event today. I'm grateful to all of you who have joined today in paying homage to Mahatma Gandhi on his 75th Martyrs Day, when he gave his life for the cause of peace and harmony. It indeed was tragic that a saint of universal peace and non-violence fell a victim to violence. I thank the Standing Conference of Public Enterprise, SCOPE, and the Gandhian Forum for hosting this tribute during the commemoration of the 75th anniversary of India's freedom. And my special thanks are to once again to Dr. Mashelkar ji and Shri Rohit Kumar Singh ji, who have very graciously accepted and gave such a scintillating speech on this solemn occasion. I'm grateful to Dr. Shri Atul Sopti ji, DG Scope, for providing continuous encouragement. I am also thankful to Shishir Bajaj ji, the Bajaj Foundation, Vishwa Yuvak Kendra, and all of you who have joined in today. On 30th January 1948, the devotee was late in reaching his Lord. Hence, he was in a hurry, as if his God was also in a hurry to meet his devotee. At 5:17 p.m., Gandhiji's soul became one with the Maker as he accepted 3 bullets on his chest with the name of Rama on his lips. On the 75th year of his martyrdom, we have gathered here to remember our father of the nation and to learn from the one who had said, "My life is my message." Even though 7 decades have gone by since Gandhiji passed on, in every part of the world, his relevance is felt as strongly as ever before, and his vision and actions are of an enduring significance for all times and places. His approach to life was holistic and cannot be divided into water compartments of social, religious, political, personal, and public life. Gandhiji stands out as the champion not only of political democracy, but also of economic and spiritual democracy in today's world. His entire life story is about action to bring about positive changes. He both succeeded and failed in what he sought to do, but he always moved forward and he never gave up the quest for improvement, both social and spiritual, and both for individuals and for the nation as a whole. Today, Gandhiji is remembered not only as a political leader, but as a moralist who appealed to the universal conscience of mankind. There is a galaxy of men, women, and children in different parts of the world who have taken a leaf from Gandhiji to fashion their initiatives for ensuring peace, sustainable development, non-violence, justice, and fighting against discrimination. The life of Mahatma Gandhi is a journey of the striving of an ordinary man, a human like you and me, and the extraordinary heights that he attained. He defined it in the simplest terms, terms that you and I can comprehend, to utter as one thinks and to act as one utters. The straight path of unity of thought, word, and deed enabled him to incessantly tread on the path of revolution and sadhana. The path of truth allowed him to walk free. He bared his mind before the world and rose above the mind itself. He erred like ordinary human beings, but unlike others, he openly admitted to his mistakes, and even before others could discern it. He said, "Why do you go in search for someone who has seen you when the person who sees you is already present there within you?" He had an ever growing and progressive personality. He always looked back inwards through self introspection, self examination, constant questioning, and listened to the inner voice. He always identified his mistakes, announced it to the world, treated his mistakes as big and the mistakes of others as small. But along with the admission of his errors, he also resolved never ever to commit them again and remained steadfast to the resolve even in the face of great difficulties. The life and thoughts of Mahatma Gandhi are intertwined and inseparable. His politics was imbued with his spiritual experiments. His spirituality was tempered by his vision of a non-violent society, and his constructive programs were integral to his politics. The unique practices of Gandhiji, his control of the palate, his fasts, his spinning, his silence, and his prayers were as much a part of his politics as of his spiritual life. These practices and experiments were sustained and nurtured by the ashrams that he had founded. The ashram community, through its own practices, reaffirmed, modified, and validated Gandhiji's ideals and practices. My formative years were spent in Gandhiji's ashram, and these practices have been a part of my daily life. The question to be asked is, do we want to make Gandhiji relevant today or not? For the business today, is ethics, commitment to excellence, service, social responsibility, customer satisfaction, living up to the sound core values, commitment to truth, transparency, honesty, integrity, and responsibility important? If yes, then we must retain Gandhiji's principles and see how the practices can be made applicable to the present circumstances and whether we have the ability to take it in that direction. Gandhiji had practiced all of these in his life and work. Dr. Mashelkarji has very well articulated in his speech today about sustainable inclusive growth through the application of the Gandhian engineering, which reiterates the relevance of Gandhiji's values for business. So what do modern day business leaders of today learn from Gandhiji? How can one get inspired and put into practice his principles? And that's what Mashelkarji has shown in his slides, in his talk. A leader to the end, Gandhiji created standards for all who would manage transformative change in any collective endeavor. This man of peace motivated his followers the way generals and conquerors have motivated their armies with the stark choice of do or die. If there is a universal set of facts that the life and work of Gandhiji proves beyond doubt, is that a single person can bring change. The change begins with the single person, and that the change begins the moment that person begins it. Nowhere in the sequence of facts is waiting an option. Begin now. Ethics is essential to the sustained operation of a business. Without both profit and ethics, the business seizes up. In 1927, the Federation of Indian Chamber of Commerce and Industries was established on Gandhiji's advice by G.D. Birlaji and Purushottam Das Thakurdas ji. Speaking in the fourth AGM in 1931, Gandhiji said that it is wrong to think that business is incompatible with ethics. I know that it is perfectly possible to carry on one's business profitably and yet honestly and truthfully. Gandhiji taught that ethical conduct is a continuum along which it is impossible to divide means from ends. Considered in the context of ethics, means and ends are in fact one and the same. An enterprise that proposes to present itself as ethical must deliver ethics in everything it does. And that's what today Rohit Kumar Singh ji elaborated so wonderfully. For Gandhiji, the cardinal virtue was fearlessness and courage. If you could learn that, he declared, nobody would be able to keep you down. People can be forced to anything, but they cannot be forced to obey willingly. Gandhiji demonstrated this great lesson that voluntary discipline is the first requisite of corporate freedom. I would like to talk about some of Gandhiji's very, very important moral leadership traits. He was driven by a larger ideal, higher values, and not just selfish interest. The prime component of Gandhiji's leadership was his elevated vision that humans, the highest manifestation of God's creation, can and would live in harmony and peace, firmly adhering to truth. He never considered himself infallible. He was willing to accept counsel from any quarter if it helped him further his virtues. Gandhiji kept learning and constantly evolving till the end of his life. What was the secret behind Gandhiji's leadership? He considered humanity and the nation above himself. His first and foremost consideration was to be of service to people, to reach out to the maximum number of people. He had a keen desire to restore the dignity of all human beings. His desire was to contribute, to leave the world a slightly better place than he entered it. In Gandhiji's revolutionary world, leaders were servants. This model of servant leadership, the concept which Gandhiji demonstrated more than 100 years ago, is now widespread in the corporate and non-corporate community. The servant leader sacrifices himself and only himself. Apart from the ethical value of the servant leader, there is the organizational strength that comes when all stakeholders in an enterprise take personal responsibility for the enterprise. He lived the values. He is the most powerful visionary from the first half of the last century, who called himself a practical idealist, who began every action with himself. Gandhiji realized that actual conduct was far superior to preaching about conduct. He walked the talk. There was no difference between his individual life and public conduct. His life was an open and transparent book. To effect change, if you do not set an example and do things yourself, most often than not, things will not get done. So be a quiet example. Promoting change by personal example is most effective when you confront a particularly entrenched practice. Gandhiji had the courage of conviction. His life was an epic experiment in principle living, whereas most sincere thinking people contemplate adherence to principle only to conclude that the realities of modern life make living strictly according to the principle impossible, or at least impractical. But Gandhiji went ahead and tried. That he succeeded to such an impressive degree is in part a testament to the strength of his determined will, and in part the result of his clear conception of a set of worthwhile principles. But he also succeeded because he managed the application of principles with a pragmatic eye towards the dynamic, fluid nature of the day-to-day. He walked on the path enlightened by truth and constantly gazed inwards to find inspiration. His conscience became his guide and illuminated his path in moments of crisis. Gandhiji respected everyone always. He had the ability to view human beings as human beings without attaching any labels. He looked at human beings as human beings, and that is why he could attribute humaneness to other human beings. Whenever people used to come to meet him, the respect that he showered on them made them feel that Gandhiji poured himself into their hearts. He became one with them. His faith was in the oneness of God's creation. He did not harbor hatred, ill will, or bitterness for others, and believed in absolute oneness of human beings with God. Another thing in his leadership was that he was a very good listener. But in listening too, he could even hear what the other person had not said. He could combine what people said and what people did to understand them. That is why there could not have been a great listener than him. Even if a person came to wage a war with him, he would look at the good qualities, strength, and the positive side of that person, and was ever open to recognizing the truth in others. This too is very important in leadership in the enterprises. If one is not able to see the qualities of the person in front of us, leadership cannot blossom. Gandhiji gave every job a high profile. One of the qualities that distinguished Gandhiji was his unique outlook about work. Within him too, there could have been distinctions of work, like less important work or work of more importance, but with work too, there is consistency. He used to consider each task to be God-given task, a gift from God. And as it was all God-given, he could see equal importance in everything and did it with equal reverence. This spirituality gave depth to all his work and was seen in his political and personal life. In his thoughts on economics, education, his activism in the freedom movement, and in each of the satyagraha. This value system made every moment precious for him. When a person considers his life to be God-given trust, he could not possibly waste it away. Another quality that I want to say, that he trusted everyone, and that trust began with trusting oneself, and then trust in one's companions, trusting those whom he had to deal with, as long as they did not prove to be untrustworthy, and trust in one's ways of working, in one's means, trust in the ends towards which one is working, and the maximum trust in the Almighty. But All these put together gave him strength, and it came from his trust in himself. So he never considered, he always was believer in voluntary self-control. At every step, it was voluntary self-control through self-examination, self-reflection, and self-purification. He constantly kept examining himself, and with the help of elders and teachers, he moved forward. Every moral lapse turned out to be a step forward for Gandhiji. He was not divine, nor was he gifted with a superior intellect. He was an ordinary person, and like all ordinary persons, he stumbled in the course of journey. What was uncommon in him was that he learned from every wrong step. That was not merely a habit, it had become his nature. In all this, he was greatly helped by his vows. A strong sense of self-respect marked Gandhiji's character from a very early age. He was incapable of discriminating against anyone. He suffered no insult and insulted no one. Also, I would like to talk about trusteeship. Gandhiji had advised the businessmen in 1927 that all business firms must work like a trust. He had said, excel in your work, produce wealth, take the minimum which you need, leave the rest to the welfare of the community. The implication of the word trustee became clear to him in the light of his attempt to understand the meaning of non-possession or aparigraha. He developed it into the principle of trusteeship. He advised rich persons to act as trustees for the poor and what they accumulated. He also said that one should use as much as one needs and leave the rest for others in the society. Money meant for the society should be spent with society's permission and must be used for the benefit of the society. Only those who wish to possess and seek to deprive others of their rights and are required to use violence to protect their position. A person from birth to death seeks societal assistance in numerous small and large matters. Gandhiji termed this as societal obligation. Gita calls it swadharma, and this debt is so large that one cannot be free from it even after a lifetime of striving. Gandhiji points to a simple way of repaying the social debt. He said, turn your life into a sacrifice or yajna and consider sacrifice as the only true religion. Gandhiji also desired purity of means not only among individuals, society, religion, but also in the political realm. Today, when the world has become more complex than the one experienced by our sages and would be even more so in the years to come, the purity of means emphasized by the man who experienced absolute oneness would be even more relevant. Gandhiji advanced steadfastly on the path of morality and spirituality. He removed every obstacle along the way, reached a higher plane at every juncture, and continued his journey upwards. His journey has been the journey of humanity. On January 29, 1948, Gandhiji's great-grandniece had noted in her diary what Bapu had said. The diary was signed by Gandhiji and it read, if I die due to illness and being bedridden, then announce from the rooftop that I was not a Mahatma. But if I am on my way to prayer and someone comes from the front and shoots at me and I take it on my chest with the name of Rama on my lips, then you can say that he was a devotee of God. The heart that bled at the sight of the misery of others was bled to death on 30th January 1948, with the 3 death-dealing slugs buried deep in it. India lost her soul, but his spirit lives on, and that spirit will continue to live among us as it carries in its chapters the mild but unassailable truth that peace is a positive force and that it can still move the human race away from darkness towards light. Mahatma Gandhi had declared, am I going to be silenced after my death? I will proclaim my faith even in death and speak from the grave. What was this faith that he wanted to proclaim from the grave? It was faith in truth, that was God. It was faith in the goodness of all, as all are capable of truth. It was faith in the goodness of mankind. It was faith that despite the falls and upheavals, humanity would move towards goodness, because truth, that is God, is only interested in the welfare of its creation. I once again take this opportunity to thank SCOPE and the Gandhian Forum for hosting the talk on Martyrs' Day. My special thanks are to all of you who have joined me online. I will end with the peace benediction in Sanskrit for the universal welfare. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotir Gamaya, Mrityor Ma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Om, lead us from untruth to truth, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. Om, peace, peace, peace.
Thank you, ma'am. Indeed, it was very enlightening, and your thoughts and your on Gandhian values and their application to the corporate world, would certainly help us to lead the way forward. As we come to the end of such an eventful symposium, I thank the esteemed panelists for their time and guidance. We thank Shri Rohit Kumar Singh Ji for his presence and time today. We're also thankful to Dr. Mashelkar Ji for weaving Gandhian values into innovation and making them inclusive, giving them a new perspective altogether. We're also humbly grateful to Dr. Shobna Radhakrishna for always being associated with SCOPE and sharing the Gandhian values with us from time to time again. We also thank DG SCOPE for his meticulous guidance and roadmap. Thank you, sir, for motivating us. A big thank you to all the SCOPE teams for putting the webinar together. Last but not the least, gratitude to all the participants for their enthusiastic participation, and we wish to meet you soon again. With this, stay safe. Jai Hind.
Yeah, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Namaskar.